I welcome you warmly to the European Parliament in Strasbourg on this first day of the 41st Joint ACP-EU Parliamentary Assembly. For many years now, our ACP-EU Joint Parliamentary Assembly has been meeting to discuss our partnership, our cooperation with one another and our solidarity with one another. The prime feature of this assembly is that it is a joint assembly and a parliamentary assembly, whereby African, Caribbean, Pacific countries, on par with European countries, jointly express a commitment to uphold shared values of parliamentary democracy and respect for human rights. The nature of joint ACP-EU Parliamentary Assembly relations is one of friendship, mutual respect, and a long-lasting one too. Today we meet as partners in democracy, unfortunately against a backdrop of war raging less than 2,000 kilometers away from us in Strasbourg. The European Parliament condemns the Russian criminal invasion of Ukraine in the strongest possible terms. Putin's attack on Ukraine is part of the Kremlin's agenda to destabilize the rule-based world order. It is a path that we will not allow him to walk unchallenged. No economic or stately power can be permitted to behave as a predator. And I am glad that we stand together in opposing aggressive powers that seek to use force and to intimidate. Ukraine, a sovereign, democratic European state, has been brutally attacked by Putin's army. The human tragedy is enormous, with thousands dead and even more casualties. Homes, schools and hospitals have not been spared by Russian war crimes. 3.6 million Ukrainians have fled the hostilities to seek protection in neighboring countries. But this horrendous war will not only have a human toll. Ukraine is a major world producer and exporter of foodstuffs, such as wheat, corn and sunflower oil. With Russian tanks destroying logistics and supply chains for Ukrainian farmers, the effect on food production, prices and availability will unfortunately be felt far and wide. In coming months, many countries around the globe may experience both food shortages and inflation in the cost of everyday products. Half of the African wheat imports, for example, come from Ukraine or Russia. The heavy economic and social consequences of this war come on top of the existing challenges following the COVID pandemic and will particularly impact developing countries. This is why last week at the European Parliament we adopted a resolution on the urgent need for an EU action plan to ensure food security inside and outside the EU in light of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We are well aware of the risk of an extremely serious global food crisis. To counter this, we must work as partners to beef up the resilience of our societies. This needs to be a central and fundamental aspect of our future cooperation. This Sunday will mark 20 years since the Cotonou Partnership Agreement. Our discussions over the coming 3 days are an opportunity for us to take stock of the solid progress of our bilateral relations over the years and to reflect on how we can build a common future and work together as partners to tackle the challenges ahead. Speaking of the future, I am particularly pleased to see that we will also have 3 young speakers from the African, Caribbean and Pacific regions with us that will address the Assembly during these days. We are all eager to get our new ACP-EU Partnership Agreement signed and implemented, to put words into action for our countries and for our citizens. Based on shared values of protecting human rights, democracy and good governance, this new agreement will tighten relations between ACP countries and European Union further. It will allow us to continue to play a fundamental role in the multilateral global system, to advance the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, to promote peace, security and prosperity, all while seeking to combat poverty and inequalities. As President of the European Parliament, what for me is the most important part of the new agreement is the essential role that will be played by you, parliamentarians, the directly elected representatives of our citizens. The Joint Assembly will continue its work, but we will also have 3 regional parliamentary assemblies, one for Africa, one for the Caribbean and one for the Pacific, that will strengthen parliamentary scrutiny, an essential part of the democratic role as elected representatives. And I am proud that this was achieved during negotiations because a government-only partnership would not fully represent the interests of people from African, Caribbean, Pacific and European countries. Going forward, I hope that the new agreement will be signed without delay by all parties so that next time we can meet under the new rules. Until then, I wish you all fruitful onward discussions here in Strasbourg.